Welcome to PW Music. I'm Dr. Patrick Engler, and today we're going to be starting a dive into Henri Rabaud's Solo de Concours. This is a great piece of standard literature for clarinet. It's got a little something for everybody, approachable enough for beginners, as well as meaty enough for older students. This video is going to cover the beginning until measure 13, so the intro section, and this is accompanying the performance and practice video of just playing and doing some individual sections of this larger section with metronome, and that should be immediately preceding this video on my page, or I'll try to link this in the end of the video. Let's dive in. So getting into it, the first thing we're going to do is split this opening section up into two smaller sections. The first of which is going to be measures 1 through 8, and this is our intro cadenza. The accompaniment just holds a chord underneath all the things that we're doing, so we can be free to take some liberties with it, play with rubato, play with our expression a little bit more, and just treat it as a cadenza. The second section is going to be measures 9 through 13, and here the accompaniment has more rhythm, and so we want to make sure that we're playing together and not going too far off on our own. Breaking down this first section, it is cadenza-like, but there are some conventions and structure to it that we want to be mindful of. So first we're going to look at measure 3, and starting on the downbeat we have a B flat, then on beat 3 we have an A flat, and then following in measure 4 we have an F sharp on beat 1 and an F natural on beat 2. And these notes already being kind of separate from everything else, with the tenuto not being included underneath the slur and being a little bit higher than everything else around it. These notes we want to give a little bit of time, a little bit of weight to, and treat them as separate from everything else, and kind of showing off a larger structure separate from the 16th note wash that we have going on. And these notes we can treat as a structure leading us to measure 5, the downbeat of measure 5, the F sharp, which is also an important spot because this is where the accompaniment changes to a different chord. And so as we come into measure 5, we want to make sure that we give a nice cue so we play together. On the downbeat, we hit the F sharp at the same time as the accompaniment changes chords. Continuing on through there, it's just kind of playing with time, making sure you're being fluid and everything as we lead up to measure 9. And measure 9, again, is where we change into this more metered section for the accompaniment. So we want to, again, make sure we give a nice cue that we all get there together. So in measure 9, the accompaniment does have more rhythm, but what's important to know is that on beats 2 and 4, starting with beat 4 in measure 9, and then 2 and 4 in measure 10, 2 and 4 in measure 11, that is where the accompaniment has just holding a note or a rest. And so this lines up with our trills and our 32nd note arpeggios. So while we do want to be a little bit more metered with these, we can take a little bit more time, and depending on how much time you want to take, just make sure that you're giving cues to the accompaniment so that they're coming back in with you on the downbeats or on beat 3. The big idea to keep in mind for this whole opening section is clarity. So the base level of that is just making sure that we always hear all of the notes in a passage. We're never going too fast or having things become a blur. That's why when we start practicing, even though ultimately we want to play with some rubato, we want to start with the metronome, making sure everything's nice and even. So not only is this going to help practice the fingers and keep in control with that, it's going to give us a sense of the rhythmic underpinnings of everything. So we're going to be able to have an idea of the sense of pulse as we continue through. So as we build on that and we continue with this idea of clarity, when we play with rubato, if we don't practice and have a good plan of what we want to do, it's a big pitfall of playing with more expressive ideas that we're just going to go in and improvise it. We don't want to do that. We want to practice and have a really well-formed idea, a really clear idea of what we want to do, sticking with clarity, of what we want to do with our speeding up, slowing down, where we want to take time, and where we want to push. So as we start practicing with the metronome, we build an idea of the kind of the pulse underneath. So then when we add our rubato in, we have an idea of just how much time we're taking so we can properly take or give time back. Mechanically speaking, this opening section really isn't too difficult to get into the fingers, but the big pitfall with this section is in the embouchure. So if we look at the very first note, we have a low G. Nothing too crazy, listed at forte. What we want to avoid is having this note get really fat and tubby and spread. So for these low notes, make sure the embouchure stays engaged. Avoid the temptation to have it be really big and have us drop the jaw, open the throat, and have that tone kind of just go out the window. Nice focused tone. Don't try to make dynamics your number one priority. Make tone your number one priority when we hit these low, powerful notes. On the opposite end, as we get into measure 9, we have these arpeggios up to high D, high C, and here, although again, the range isn't crazy, we don't want to avoid biting and having these notes come out really thin and shrill. So as we go up these arpeggios, especially the 32nd note arpeggios, we don't want to bite the higher we get. Stay relaxed in the embouchure, let your air do the work, let the voicing do the work, and work on having these higher notes be nice and full as we reach the apex of that arpeggio. To sum it up, there's not too much crazy in this opening section. A lot of it's just getting in the practice room, giving it time, and getting it in the fingers. I think for this video, hopefully I covered most of the things that you might not know sitting down with it for the first time, so you can plan your practice accordingly. As you get into it, I hope you go back and check out the playthrough and practice video so you get an idea of how it sounds and you have some resources to play along with me and the metronome for this opening part. So on that note, I'm going to leave you with a couple notes on that video and just explain what I did, since I want to leave that as just playing and have this video be more of a masterclass and talking about it. So the big thing for that video is once I get to the metronome practice sections, the first part, which I do, measures 1 to the downbeat of measure 5. For the notes where you want to give it a little bit of time, that B flat, A flat, F sharp, and F natural line in measures 3 and 4, I just give those downbeats 1 beat unto themselves and then come in on the next beat for the rest of it. So you don't have to practice it that way. I did that mainly just for the video, so it's easy to see, easy to hear. Practice it how works best for you. It's just to keep the metronome consistent and going through and not have lots of starts and stops. Second, feel free to do your own sections. I tried to divide it up in parts that showed off different things that you'd be doing. So the first section measures 1 to the downbeat of 5. That's working on that kind of macro line that I was just talking about. The next section, measure 5 until the middle of measure 7. Here we're alternating between playing on the downbeat and on an upbeat. And here we can work on kind of our rubato trajectory and how we want to speed up or slow down through here and getting the different accents right. From there, it's where we left off on the 16th rest in measure 7 until the downbeat of 9. Again, this is just a different section working on rubato and how we're going to speed up and land on the downbeat of measure 9. Finally, it's measures 9 through 13. This is the section that has the meter with the accompaniment, and so we aren't working so much on rubato and working with the metronome to keep it even at first. Here, it's just keeping it in time so that the accompaniment can be nice and consistent, and we can be consistent with the accompaniment. So that about sums it up for this opening section. The next section we'll be doing of Rabaud will be the largo. So picking up where we left off and covering this middle section. So there's a little bit more to get into with this one, since we have some more rhythm, we have some more subdivisions, if you're looking ahead, that we need to cover. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.